So I think we've gone live. So welcome everyone that's joining us. This is a very warm welcome to the second of our AIMS RunVibes webinars. This session focuses on one of the most important conversations in the running industry. That's the sustainability in marathons. For each of our series, we're delighted to be joined by leading experts to share their insights, their practices, and their approaches. Before I introduce you to our panelists for today, quick introduction to myself. I'm the host. I'm James Thie. I was a former GB international. I'm now a senior lecturer at Cardiff Metropolitan University in sports management. I'm also a coach, a marathon commentator, and I'm still running myself in the masters scene. And yes, I have been over a few full marathon distances as well. But let's take you through the fantastic panelists that we've got today. So we've got Claudius Saldanha, who is the Vice President and Head of the Supply Chain at Procam International. Delighted that we've got Tina Muir, the founder of Racing for Sustainability and the CEO of Running for Real. We've also, I think, going to be joined when he jumps on the call. That's Rico Tessio, the founder of and CEO of Rico Solutions, the Chair and Counsel for Responsible Sport. And we also have Sherry Lee, the international coordinator for the Xiamen Marathon and the Xiamen Culture of Media and Sport, who stepped also in at the last minute. So thank you again to our fantastic panelists. It's a really important discussion today to be having. A little bit of housekeeping first, that for each of our guest speakers, if we keep ourselves on mute when we're not speaking, if you've got anything to add to that conversations that's been had, then do let us know. For those out there that are watching, then please use the chat function for any questions during when our guest speakers are speaking. But there's also going to be an opportunity for questions towards the end for an open forum as well on so many important issues. The first really important thing I think we need to get into is the discussion around green sustainability. Rico's not on the call yet, I don't think. So, Tina, yourself, you co-wrote Becoming a Sustainable Runner and a guide to running for life, community, and the planet. Can you tell us a little bit about your own kind of journey towards sustainability? And again, welcome to our AIMS RunVibes webinar.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here, especially talking on this topic, which I think is an important one and is connected to everything we do. I mean, you can maybe see the sun shining on my face right now, which is a good example of like we are here in nature. It is a part of us. And so I always knew that as a child, even was grateful for times outside, just, recognizing that there was a lot of beauty out there. But as I ran at a higher and higher level, reaching all the way up, like you, James, to running at an international level, I kind of lost focus on that and then found my way back to it in my late 20s, started to become interested in it and noticed that there was a gap for opportunities to speak to people in a way that brought them into the conversation rather than a lot of what was happening, which was kind of saying you have to be very extreme, you have to do everything or don't bother at all. So I really loved that I could help bring people in and find ways to remind us that we are nature, we can't live without nature. And so how can we do our part to do this sport that we love, this thing that we love, but also consider, our longevity as a planet.
And in terms of your kind of, development through being a runner, because obviously sometimes when we're in that running mindset, we don't always see other things that are going on in the kind of delivery and the processes. When did you kind of sort of become more aware of the kind of environment around you, and was it a real conscious decision that you wanted to have like a positive footprint on that after?
I think there was a combination of factors for me as an athlete, particularly one who did travel to races and who was, in many ways, I felt like I was taking a lot from others. I knew I wanted to find a way to give back, to contribute positively. But the more I started to look into it and think about it, the more shame I felt as I wasn't doing enough. Maybe that it was too big. that I couldn't contribute in any way meaningful. But that was where I realized like other people must be feeling this. So I think a lot of it came from that next stage of my life of wanting to think about what I could give instead of receive. But in many ways, when I was running at the elite level, I had to push it out of my head because the focus was performance. And now I love and believe that the two can go hand in hand. You can care about your race, your event, your run itself. And you can also at the same time recognize that there's little tweaks we can make to make it better for everyone.
And your research for the book and obviously, discussion points around it. What were some of the things that, maybe surprised you or interest you, and things that you want to get out to a wider audience?
Again, I would say surprised me was that, I really do feel that everyone is trying their best. Everyone, or not everyone, I should say. I'd say most people want to do more, want to feel good about who they are, want to feel like they are positive human beings, but don't know where to start or feel overwhelmed or feel as though their one choice doesn't matter. But I really strongly believe that we are this collection of humans that can make a huge difference if we come together. So then with that, another thing I learned was the more we can come together in situations like this and discuss ideas and share things and kind of learn from one another, the better off we are going to be. If we are out there as a one person trying to push a boulder up the hill, that the same person next to us is trying to push a boulder and we're both just struggling, we're never going to get anywhere. But if we share and we work together, I really think that was something that came from it in diving into this. And then the second piece I would say is, while I said we are connected to nature, we are nature, we are also, when we have to be able to take care of ourselves first before we can even think about taking care of our communities or the planet. If we are burning out and unable to like eat well or sleep well, then we're not going to be ready to kind of look after others. We need to be able to be kind to ourselves, to like find nourishment for ourselves, respect ourselves with sleep. And then we will have the energy, the motivation, and the fuel to be able to kind of step it out bigger and support other people and the earth itself.
Thank you, Tina. Some really important messages there. And Rico, I can see you on the call. Thank you so much, Rico, for giving us your time this afternoon or whatever time zones people are on. Because again, thank you again to all our panelists. Everyone is on slightly different time zones and living very kind of busy lives as well. So Rico, tell us about the Rico Solutions and your role as chair of the Council for Responsible Sport and its link to green sustainability. And again, welcome to the webinar.
Yeah, and thank you, James. My apologies to everyone here. There's an international time zone, just a misunderstanding there. And so my apologies this morning, and you a little out of my element, out of the office this morning. But Rico Solutions very easily is a US-based consulting company that helps organizations, whether it be marathons or other sporting organizations, plan and implement their sustainability programming. A lot of that starts with stakeholder engagement and understanding what resources are in individual markets, but that's what Rico Solutions does. From a larger perspective this morning, the Council for Responsible Sport is a nonprofit here in the United States that 15 years ago created a certification process, mainly for marathons. That's where our background has been. That's where the most of the certifications have been so far, but really to establish not just a certification model there, James, but also a common language that everybody could speak. When the sustainability movement and the public forward-facing sustainability movement started, a lot of folks, as Tina had just mentioned, were in silos and they were doing things, but there wasn't a lot of that communication. The council's main aim was to create a resource that folks could speak the same language, have the same goals, start sharing some best practices in order for this world to become, or this job to become easier. Tina put it best: we can't do it alone. And that was the big focus, and still is, for the council, is to be a resource for events worldwide. And we're seeing lots and lots of the larger events stepping up and going through certification, and kind of putting their money where their mouth is. And it's exciting to see the growth of that.
Thank you. And has it been a tough kind of position to be in sometimes? Is it challenging? What have you learned over the last few years, Rico?
I would yes, absolutely. There's a challenge. There are challenges everywhere. I think that's the part that's valuable about coming together today, like we're doing. The biggest thing that I see, though, is regardless of those challenges, is that people want to do good. I think Tina said it best, not to continue to echo her thoughts, but she's exactly right. I think when we talk about event organizers, they want to do things responsibly, and more we're seeing, I don't know if it's a trend or if it's just people being good humans, but more and more the participants want their events to do the right thing, and they want to be a part of those initiatives. And so I think that's what we've learned more than anything over the last couple of years, is that this idea of bringing people together in the sustainability world, and in this idea of these programs and projects, the more the merry. And that's really what we're seeing is, from that standpoint, what we're learning.
Thank you. And we will come back to that discussion around barriers and challenges. But Cherry, I'm delighted you've joined us today. Thank you so much for stepping in at the last moment. So one of the things we wanted to bring out, that the Xiamen Marathon has done some great things over the last few years. And can you tell us a little bit about the origin of the story, the current achievements in relation to sustainable developments and initiatives that yourselves have implemented?
Sure. Hello. So the Xiamen Marathon was founded in 2003, and our sustainability journey was began with a simple idea to make running more meaningful. So in 2008, our organizing committee launched a concept of a smoke-free marathon. The volunteer from the Xiamen CDC and the Xiamen University to promote the anti-smoking awareness along the race course. This creates a healthy environment for runner and spectator. As the platinum level event, we take our social responsibility seriously. We believe a sustainable marathon protect the city and helps build a beautiful and livable Xiamen. Over the years, we are proud that our efforts have earned the international recognition, including the AIMS Green Award and the World Athletic ABW Standard Civil Level. Today, we are glad to share our experience with you. And I would like to say about our longest running green initiatives. And in 2014, to reduce waste along the race course, the Xiamen Marathon partnered with our title sponsor, CND Group, to launch the Green Run in Action initiative. The participants collect the trash along the course while promoting the message, "Leave only beauty, no trash." So over the past 12 years, more than 3,800 families and over the 10,200 participants have joined, and thanks to their effort, waste has decreased. In 2015, we joined the Million Forest Project of the China Green Foundation for further promote the Green Run in Action. We start the tree planting in the desert. Since then, the event has donated spelling annually and organized volunteers to take part in the afforestation activity. Today, the Xiamen Marathon Charity Forest covers more than 6,000 mu and includes over 260,000 desert-fixing plants, contributing to effort to combat the desertification. In December 2020, the organization committee established the Xiamen Marathon Foundation, the first independent marathon charitable foundation in China, to helping helping to professionalization and systemization our public welfare initiative. So Roger just shared some picture. Can we go? Oh, this picture is showing the tree we planted in the desert, and you can share other picture. Could you share other pictures?
I think they were being shown as you were speaking, Sherry. Some really important messages there, and yeah, wonderful kind of initiatives, and yeah, hopefully. Oh, there you go. Back to some more of the images, Sherry. If you want to add any more color and light to them.
I also have a video. Maybe if you can show us. It's about all the thing I talk about. We make a video. Do you have the video?
Let's see if the IT team have got it. Unless you could just talk us through, Sherry, what was on the video, that'd be fantastic.
Maybe I can share the video later. I will come back with the video.
But no, I love that about leave only beauty and no trash. That's a nice motto to have, and it's obviously a great community involvement as well. So there's so here's the video. I think we're good to go with the video now.
Yeah. There's no sound. So this is the Green Run in action. All the family collect the trash with their children on the race course. And we planting the tree in the desert. Every year we'll organize the family with their children to go to the desert to planting the tree.
And that's now 12 years, was the first tree planted in 2014.
Yes.
Sherry, so must be able to see it now really kind of adding green and life to the area. Now. Oh, it's a forest now. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Some wonderful messages there, and yeah, really important kind of points that, and it takes time as well. It's not something necessarily initiatives that take a few years and for literally the roots to lay to the ground. So, but yeah, thank you, Sherry, for taking us through that. I know we got Claudius as well in terms of some good examples in relation to green sustainability in practice. So again, I think this will be a really interesting couple of examples. Claudius, welcome to the webinar today.
Thank you, James. I would like to say a few words about Procam International. Procam can be well said to be the architect of participative sporting culture in India. Sport has always been largely spectatorial, and Indians have always, been content with sitting at the couches and watching dramas, soaps, cricket. But in 2004, the Mumbai Marathon came and changed it all. There was a running revolution, which has now become a movement. From a handful of races a few decades ago, there is nearly 1,000 registered distance running races in India. There are nearly 130 million health conscious individuals. And at the Tata Mumbai Marathon this year, in its 21st year in 2026, 70,000 people took to the streets, including the on-ground and virtual runners. But through this all, Procam never lost sight of the environment, if its responsibility to an environment. Way back in 2011, there was this, we came up with the idea of doing an urban forest at Bangalore, where there were about 300 saplings planted at a desolate piece of ground beside a lake. And those saplings grew into trees, and within 5 years, this was handed over to the forest department. And today, that place is a large biodiversity park, where there's a beautiful butterfly park in the middle. And this place is frequented by morning walkers, bird watchers, and sightseers. But we didn't stop there. In 2024, we came up with this green bib idea, which was a plantation with a difference. A person registering for the Mumbai Marathon had an option to upgrade his bid, which would now become a green bid, and he could be called an evergreener. So what does that mean? By registering as an evergreener, he now has a direct connect with a farmer, say 400 kilometers away, a farmer who is trying to till his lands in a drought-prone area, who is not sure whether he will be able to, his crops will be able to give proper fruit at the time because it's a drought-prone area. But through this initiative, which is called the TMM, the Tata Mumbai Marathon Agroforestry Initiative, he also plants fruit trees alongside his crops, because of which he has a chance now, an additional subsistence mode of income. So now, where there is a chance of any weather irregularities, or there is any chance of no rain, or so we have helped them to improve their groundwater, improve their water connectivity, and because of which now they can also now earn a side income. So that's where their livelihoods have improved. And when we started this project, we expected that a few hundreds of people, trees, maybe we would have been successful with. But we are proud to say that today, there are not just a few hundred trees, but 18,000 trees have been planted, some 52 acres revived, and 51 farmers have been supported. This is all because nearly 6,500 of our Tata Mumbai Marathon participants have supported this initiative.
That was going to be one of my questions of how many green bibs have been, but yes, 6,500. Is there a target aim going into 2026 or beyond of how many green bibs?
There is. We just want to go on, and the impact, the response has been so great that we are now looking at further areas of expansion.
That's a wonderful good news story, that, and yeah, I love that connection to the wider communities as well. And obviously, yeah, the importance and support of farmers is so vital, in what are challenging conditions around the world. So yeah, some wonderful discussions there. So I think, being that, yeah, some great kind of initiatives and ideas, but I want to go back to the discussion around challenges to sustainability, and it's obviously marathons, endurance running events, one of the biggest kind of public participation events globally. But the challenge is, the sustainability that revolves around the delivery and around the support of such events. So Rico, to start with yourself, I know we just touched upon it, but what are some of the challenges and potential barriers to sustainability for events?
I think the number one thing that we see from a challenge standpoint is always going to be resources, whether that's financial resources or infrastructure resources in cities that conduct these events. Start with the financial side of it. Unless you've got a corporate partner, sustainability is not free. There certainly are lots of things that you can do that are cost effective and steps that you can take in order to do good and do better, but ultimately there is a cost for doing some of this work, whether it be with consultants or just actual cost of goods or anything else. And so the financial piece tends to stop a lot of folks until they realize that there are connection points to money, whether they're with sponsors or with your participants. I think Claudius makes a great point that 6,500 bibs have been sold. Those are people that want to participate, that are willing to give their money to participate in a sustainability program. So there's a huge financial challenge in every organization, but there are ways around that, and there are ways to get over that hurdle with some creative thinking. The other piece of the challenge puzzle for us and everyone else is, and we can limit it to waste today for this conversation standpoint, but in order to recycle or to compost waste, in order to be able to separate streams of waste, there have to be facilities and systems in place in those regions, in those cities, in order to process that material. And so understanding what your natural resources are around you is a big piece of getting started. And being able to address those types of challenges and where you're going to need to engage other stakeholders. And the last challenge we see that runs consistent with what we're talking about today is communication. And how do events go about communicating what they're doing, whether they be to sponsors or to their participants, their athletes, the folks the neighborhoods that these events run through. There are lots and lots of touch points to a marathon. 70,000 runners creates lots and lots of touch points, whether that be with lodging or traffic and transportation. There are lots of opportunities to move sustainability forward, but it seems like a daunting task until we start communicating. And so financial resources, infrastructure around where you're at, and then just communication challenges of being able to tell that story. Those are some of the biggest challenges we see. All of them can be overcome, but oftentimes things that will either hold up programming or flat out stop people from getting started because they see the challenge as too big.
Thank you, Rico. Some really important points there. And going to yourself, Tina, from obviously your own experiences and own writing around challenges that races face in what is a wonderful period we're in right now, which is a huge growth in global running and events, but with growth comes challenges as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And particularly starting with that point you mentioned about growth, this is obviously a wonderful opportunity. It benefits almost everything, except I would say, yes, it has the potential to be more harmful for our planet, because the bigger things get, the harder it is to kind of find solutions that work. As Rico mentioned, if you're dealing with 70,000 people, that's a very different situation to 5, which is in itself a challenge, right? What the Bank of America Chicago Marathon has to work through, or the TCS New York City Marathon, is very different to a small race, or even a small race that could be 10,000, 5,000, 1,000 people. Everywhere is different. Again, back to the resources Rico mentioned, but also from a standpoint of what is doable. One of the advantages I would remind people of on this call, if your race is not a big race and does not have a corporate partnership, that means you are nimble. To change anything at these big races requires dozens of signatures, dozens of checks. And that's actually a lot of the challenges that I have seen in my work with the biggest marathons, is that it is kind of gets through most of the steps, but it takes one signature to say, nope, one person saying, nope, not signing off on that. And then it has to be kind of redrawn and figure out, let's try again. However, if you are the decision maker, or if you are an event that doesn't have as many people, as many resources, the biggest key, I would say, is finding some kind of sustainability champion in your community who is passionate about this. Now, Claudius obviously shared with us that the Green Runner situation has been very impactful. Rico then echoed that runners are more and more interested, and I have absolutely seen that here in the US and in the UK. My nonprofit, Racing for Sustainability, we allow runners to fundraise for sustainability initiatives, and we were blown away by how many people wanted to represent us. And so finding those people within various different cities and plugging them in, getting them engaged, can take some of the strain off the race directors, the organizers themselves, and those resources. And also they are driven to do their part to help the planet. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges, is finding someone who cares about it. But once you find that person and you engage them, they can learn, they can feel like they're contributing. And as I mentioned earlier, they can then be the one that organizes others to come help them, to come volunteer, that can then take your next sustainability initiatives along, of whatever your pipe dream is, to get the next piece of the puzzle in place.
Thank you, Tina. Some really important discussion points there, and interesting takes. So, Claudius, in terms of one of the questions in the chat was around about sort of locations of challenges. Tina's touched upon the US kind of links. What about yourself in India? Might be challenges to sustainability for yourselves?
Thank you. The challenge is to balance the large format events with the present infrastructure and the operating conditions. I'll tell you what I mean. We have a challenge where we have listed, like I have one challenge, which is the energy transition. So our events are for a short time, but to get access to a temporary low carbon renewable energy is a big challenge. We are still at an early stage in India. So we have to rely heavily on diesel generators, diesel gensets. Now we had no option, but since we are sustainable, we worked around that. And what we did is we tried to improve the effectiveness of these generators, reduce the idle time, put it on only when required. As much as possible, wherever there was an electric source, we have tried to connect over there. So we try to overcome our challenge over there, which is connected to energy transition. Our next challenge was data collection. Like these large events, to collect scope 3 emissions is a challenge, where participants travel to track how did they come and how many people sat in the car. So we had a challenge, like not only participants, the volunteers, the vendors, the spectators, also to calculate their emissions was a challenge. We overcame this. We overcame this by establishing partnerships with transport providers and encouraging public transport. I'm proud to say that, in Mumbai Marathon, nearly 95% and above people would have come to the event using a public transport. We're proud of that. Another challenge the last challenge that I'd like to highlight here is about the waste management. So long routes on these urban in the urban cities, when you have a race running, there is a lot of waste collected. So to clear up those waste and return it back in record time back to the authorities is a challenge. So what did we do? We worked with local municipalities who are experts in this, And like the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai has been supportive enough for this. And we've also established partnerships with professional waste management organizations like Asirudala Innovations based in Bangalore. So in this way, we have tried to, overcome the challenges in India.
Yeah, some really important points there about how to overcome challenges. And that leads us on to our next kind of area of focus. And it's more about some of the simple ways that races can get started and ways races can kind of look to reach out.
I just want to say one point.
Go, Claudius, go for it.
All our races, all Procam races are zero to landfill.
Yeah.
That is a very big statement that we would like to make.
No, so it's a statement worth making as well. So in relation to races reaching out, I love that statement you made, Tina, about smaller races being nimble. But how would any level of race, reach out, and what's almost the start point? And especially going back to the growth of our sport, which is fantastic, but that also means new events are starting, all the time. Where do they start and where do they go in relation to green sustainability, and where would you signpost them to?
Yeah, I mean, new events coming in, I would say Rico and I, in the work that we do, one of the biggest challenges that we have is trying to let racers know that it's not a sustainability department that sits over here in a silo, but it needs to be weaved into everything that they are doing. So, for us, that's what we have to try and show these racers, that it can't just be, there's a sustainability box. It has to be conversations with all the different people. So if you're starting, you have that potential to build it in from the beginning, which actually makes it much easier on you down the road. However, also with the small team, small resources potentially to start, you obviously have the difficulty of, I'll deal with that later, and then never get to it. But I would say that to look for other races. I mean, obviously this is a global conversation, so there's going to be different challenges depending on where you are, but also look to other races in your area that have done something similar. Maybe go along to their race and shadow. Claudius just gave us a beautiful example of things that he has done. So, he would be a wonderful example of a race you could go volunteer at, learn from, listen to, and then Council for Responsible Sport has some wonderful resources that are available. Racing for Sustainability, my nonprofit, we do have resources available. I will say those are probably primarily targeted to US races. They are for small races, beginners, but yes, probably more suited to the US races. So I want to just put that some of these may be applicable to the culture in the US that is in a different place. Me being from the UK, the UK is dealing with different challenges to the US. And so I even see differences there. But I would say to pick one thing and really do it well, to focus on one area or one initiative, one item that bothers you. Right now, a lot of the conversations I'm hearing are about the gel packets, the nutrition packets. Maybe that's your starting point and you say, okay, what can we do? Research, like what have other races done? Learn from other races. And then you focus on that. While I said it needs to be weaved into everything, if you try and do all of the different initiatives that you have in the back of your brain, you're never going to get anywhere. I would start with one initiative that kind of has your interest, you're passionate about, and then build from there.
Thank you. That's great to bring in Rico as well, because obviously, is it similar experiences, Rico, in relation to signposting and starting, with some easy wins as well, potentially?
Yeah, I would say, not to echo everything that Tina said, but there's a few things that tie back to, Claudius as well. As I would designate a champion. There's a couple of things that I see as starting points that would just weave into Tina's conversation, but a designated champion within your organization, whether that's somebody that's a volunteer that she had mentioned or somebody that actually works for your race. There needs to be someone that steers this boat and continues to keep it in meetings so it doesn't get pushed to doing later, regardless of the size of your organization. And then regardless of the size, from a small race to 70,000 participants, I believe all the elements are the same as far as local partnerships, resources that have to be, gathered and collected and figured out. So one of the things that we often encourage folks to do, outside of selecting a champion within the office and understanding that it's going to touch every single department, is start talking, start having communications with your stakeholders. Figure out what sustainability means to you as a race, as an organization, and then start having conversations and find out how many connection points you can make within your universe that allow you to start moving some of these things forward, whether it's a gel packet or single-use plastic, whatever it is that you're going to identify as your challenges. I also believe is find low-hanging fruit, pick that so that you can find some wins. But step one for us is always start the communication. And let's start figuring out where that team is at so that when we start putting plans and programming into place, we know that we can execute those. Nothing more frustrating for an organization to have lofty goals for sustainability and then fall well short because the planning from point A to point B was not correct, or they tried too many things, as Tina had mentioned, and became unsuccessful. That kills programming very quickly, because board of directors or leadership in organizations will see it as a loss leader from a financial standpoint with no return on investment. And it's very hard to continue to move programming forward without the buy-in of leadership. And typically, and at least in the United States, leadership tends to look for that return, and not just the feel good out of it. They want tangible stories and promotion and activations that promote this type of programming.
And what do the current kind of trends look like? What are some of the activations, and what do you think kind of the next 2-3 years looks like potentially?
I'm going to defer to Tina on this one, because I believe she can give you a better answer, because where I see it is a lot of the communication that's going to the athletes and using the platform of those athletes and their world. So I'll defer to her, because she's more involved in that on a daily basis, really her specialty.
Tina, your speciality.
Sorry to throw you on the spot there, Tina.
No, you're okay.
It was a good pass, Rico. Good pass.
Yeah. Again, I've been very surprised by the engagement or interest of runners. And so, Claudius mentioned the green bib there. Like, that actually is kind of a way that I have, with the races that I work with, learned who is interested, who is kind of out there in the community, like either through outreach or through initiatives like the Green Bib, or with what New York Road Runners did with the New York Road Runners Team for Climate. They were able to kind of collect this pool of people who had chosen this essentially over other areas. And so from that, we can then kind of look at who is in various areas and say, like, hey, you live in this place, like, I've actually done some personal outreach to some people on behalf of race directors who have said to me, like, I want to find a champion, I want to find a person who can support me with this, but I don't know anyone, and I don't have anyone on my team who is particularly proactive about this. So I've really loved seeing the amount of people that have kind of come out and shown that they have this interest in supporting initiatives and kind of getting the work going. And yeah, does that answer the question, or do you feel like
it definitely does.
I've
got another question, a bit almost maybe the power of something like social media now, and how that plays, and obviously athletes, and runners, have a footprint on social media, and it's very influential. How much of a tool can that be used for good now?
Definitely can be, but I would say social media, there is a lot of like maybe fear right now of, I'd say there's probably a lot more passionate people out there that don't use social media because of, like, as sad as it is, and at least here in the US, the polarization of like caring about the planet is leans a certain way. However, I will say that the interest is definitely there. If there is someone or someone who is maybe adjacent. Like I find a lot of the community builders, the people who are out, I often say that sustainability, environmentalism, caring about the planet is not obviously just about the physical earth. It is about the people in it. So the community builders, people who are building run groups, the people who are on social media, who genuinely seem to be trying to make their community better, those are often great people to start with as well, because not only do they have a voice vocally and are they active on social media, but they are usually very passionate about keeping waste off the side of the road in their area, about what they can do to support their community, about working with local partners. And so I actually find social media effective more in that sense of what people are out there in this community building that recognize we have to take care of the planet in order to take care of their individual community.
Thank you. And Claudius, yourself, in relation to India and races and the next 2-3 years, where do you see things going and evolving as well?
So as pioneers of distance running in India, Procam conducts the top 4 premier races in India, which are all gold label races, World Athletics recognized. And by the way, World Athletics also has recognized us for our sustainability efforts. The way ahead, as what I would see is, piloting renewable and low carbon temporary power solutions, which is a very big challenge that we have. It should be economical. It should not be overly expensive. And then the other one would be to improve, scope 3 data emission, data collection. The collection should be of good quality. I mean, we should get proper data. And the other one would be, to strengthen the circular economy, which is around the event materials and like signages and branding that is used at the events. We'll have to work around, circular economy and strengthening the circular economy over there. And also, scaling up initiatives like the Green Bib.
Thank you so much. And back to Rico in relation to the measurement. What are some of the things and ways that races can measure their sustainability?
They've got to get started. Number one, I think that there's 100 different things that they can measure. We tell them to measure what matters to them when they get started. I think that kind of echoes back to Tina's comment of, pick one thing and do it well to get started. Find out what matters to you. Find out what matters to your community, to your sponsors, to your participants. If it's zero waste and it's, the elimination of single-use plastic, or then start there. Measure that and create a baseline when you get started. There's no way to move forward and to track your progress unless there's a baseline. Claudius mentioned, this monstrous task of emissions calculations, but unless you go through that, you can't work on a solution. You can't begin to say, how do we reduce this? How do we do better? What strategies can we take unless you start to measure that? There's waste, water, energy are the big 3 with all of this, and every event, regardless of the size, has a consumption of energy and of water. How you measure it and how you go about doing that afterwards. That's the idea of programming, but measure what matters to you and work with the stakeholders. Have those partnership conversations with your waste hauler that says, hey, when you haul waste, we need to know where it went and how much it was. And it's not an audit more than it is a partnership. Certainly a great opportunity for organizations to audit certain things when it comes to the financial spend that it takes to haul waste and to provide transportation measures. Outside of the environmental piece of it, I think that every sustainability metrics also has a financial side to it. There's a triple bottom line to all of that. And when we measure it, I think it's understanding that it's all 3 of those. It's the people, it's the planet, and ultimately the profit. of an organization, because that has to be built into it. Sustainability has to be financially feasible, but yeah, that when it comes to measurements, that's what I would say. Find out what matters to you, define sustainability first, and then start measuring that.
Yeah, so get started and involving stakeholders, and you come back always to that communication being, fundamental. And I think that's a really important key point from today. Finally, before we wrap up things, just a chance to open it up to any kind of good news stories. I know we've had some fantastic examples, but anything you've seen, read, heard over the last few weeks and months?
I'm happy to start with. I would want to celebrate the Paris Marathon for their efforts this year. Paris was the first big race in the world to do no cups. Everyone had to carry their own bottles, handhelds, and refill them on course. There was a lot of hesitation, a lot of criticism before, but they really handled it well. And while that is not the biggest factor in terms of what Rico was just talking about in terms of emissions and the measurements, like that was not going to have the biggest impact, but it was definitely a sign to the global running community, like you need to think about these things, and that runners are ready to handle these things. Of course, there were a few stubborn people, as there always were, who kind of didn't want to participate because of this decision, but it showed that people adapted, people got on with it, and 57,000 people were able to run through the streets of Paris with their own handheld cup, vest, whatever it might be. So for me, that was a real inspiration piece of this can be done, and runners are ready to receive it.
And we've had a question in the chat around carbon credits linked to marathons. So is that something that the panelists have heard of? Is that something that it is a potential thought process?
Rico, I think you should take that one.
The pass has been thrown back to Rico.
No, and I'd like to hear. I'll say, yeah, it certainly is happening. Lots of ways to look at credits and offsets and a lot of those different things. I'm always on the side of any movement that's moving forward, and any organization that is trying to figure things out and participates in those types of programs are better than not. I kind of will, and really kind of, I want to hear Claudius's version and Sherry. These massive events that certainly have large emissions footprints, and how that's handled internally there.
Claudius, yourself, in relation to anything carbon credits or any other good news stories you've heard of recently?
I can just say that, we try to manage our own waste. We try to we have tried to calculate also the carbon emissions which for the Muir marathon. And then regarding carbon credits, yes, we may think of it in the future, but as of now, we are working to like the Green Brick program. It's something that we are trying to do ourselves rather than trying to buy something from a market. We will try to do something because when we are conducting an event, we are also trying to do something to the infrastructure, to the city. We should give it back. We should give back something good to the city. So we are trying to do it ourselves as much as we can. And then maybe in the future, we may think of carbon credits.
Thank you so much. And Sherry, I think that you're going to give us a little bit of promotion around the Xiamen Marathon for 2027. But is there anything more that you want to add in relation to the sustainability of the race, or anything you've heard from our guest speakers, and anything you want to share, anything more in relation to the discussion? Sherry, can you hear me?
Sorry. The Tina just
yes.
talked about the Paris Marathon. So in this year, we also recruit like 200 runners. We only provide them a cup, and then they just use this cup all the way around the whole race to drink the water. So, but I think this initiative is difficult in China. People might think using the cart will slow down their pace. And I think it's a challenge for the race if they want to only promote the cup. So I also curious about the Paris Marathon. Why they can do that and nobody complain?
Okay, a few things there. One, I would say I see that as a lot of my job is to show runners that it doesn't slow you down. I actually ran 2:54 at London, refilling a bottle, so it can be done. And that was my point of running London in that way, was to use their refill stations that they had on course. So it definitely can be done. Paris also mitigated this. If you were running faster than 2:50, you did get a bottle of your own that you could drink and throw down. So they also extended their elite field further out. London Marathon also did something similar in that they offered the championship section, which I believe is 1,000 people, bottles, instead of them having to use the cups or any other bottles. But to answer your question, it was very quick to refill in Paris. If you look up my social media, you will see a video. You see me taking 3 seconds to refill. They had done a really good job of putting either the sprays, but primarily the faucets where you push in with your thumb, comes out, and it took seconds. Now that to say that obviously I knew what I was doing. I was wanting to do this. So I understand my 3 seconds, maybe 10 seconds for someone else. But then I would remind runners that then you are holding a bottle this big of liquid that you can sip while you're running, which I believe saves time over choking down water every 5K and spluttering and struggling with it. So you actually then can run through most of the miles without having to slow down. And then Paris was again able to do it. We mentioned the communication piece. They made it very clear from the start that this is what was being done. So runners had to get used to it. And most runners, especially in the summer months, do tend to run with something or have to stop somewhere. So it is something that runners can get used to, because if you were going to do a long run for your marathon in the summer, you wouldn't go the whole way without water. And you also don't have someone, or most of us don't have someone standing on the side of the road holding a bottle or a cup for us. So I kind of feel like it naturally shouldn't be too big of a jump. But I do understand the hesitation. You are not alone in that. And yes, there were some complaints afterwards of it slowed me down, but nowhere near as many as we expected. There's also a YouTube video of I can type it in the chat, a guy called Kafuzi, who does it. He's a very big video logger. He ran the Paris Marathon, is not in sustainability, but he gives a very unbiased, neutral example of how it works.
I think there's some really important points there. I think change is sometimes hard. People don't like change on any level. And I think communication and education are really important points there as well. So I think that, Paris obviously trying that, and other races have done likewise. It'll be interesting to see how many other races now follow suit and go down that route. But I mean, fantastic. I think, Sherry, you've got something to add, I think, a bit about the Xiamen Marathon for 2027 to showcase it.
It's just a little advertisement. So the Xiamen Marathon will take place on the January 10th. And during the expo, we will host an ocean-related event, a sustainability event related to the ocean. So we warmly welcome all the organizer, races, and runners come to join us as we continue to run to a sustainable future together. That's all.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And that's the 10th of January, 2027. So again, thank you for joining us for our second AIMS RunVibes webinar. Thank you to our fantastic panelists, Claudius, Tina, Rico, and Sherry, for their time this morning, this afternoon, whatever time zone you are on. Thanks to those that have joined us today in such an important discussion. Thank you for sharing your insights, your examples of good practice, and what races can do on a kind of smaller and larger scale to be more sustainable now and in the future. So again, thank you for joining us, and we're back in a couple of months for what will be now our third AIMS RunVibes webinar. Thank you very much from myself, James Thie, from our fantastic panelists. I wish you all the very best and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Thank you, team. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. My apologies for the tardiness. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, Rico. You pulled it together superbly. I hope you have a fantastic day, okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Rico.